Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SOMM TV Podcast. My name is Jason Wise. Today's episode, I get to speak to one of the true up-and-coming trailblazers in the wine world and food world, George Walker, who is a cast member of our upcoming show, Sparklers, the very first cooking competition show that I've personally directed. It's going to be amazing. I really just can't wait for all of you to see what this crazy thing has been. We've been building it up for so long. I'm trying to have each one of the 5 participants in the show on here so you can meet them. Many of these people you already know, but George works at Dwyane Wade Cellars in Napa. Really, really fun guy, good friend, and just one of the sweetest people I know in the wine business. So I'm looking forward to everybody hearing his story, but also, we do a little bit of laughing about just the world and the wine business and everything else. Before that, I want you to know, SOMMTV.com. Go there, sign up. You can get 50% off an annual using the code word SPICES. SPICES for 50% off an entire year for SOMM TV. We really appreciate you subscribers and everybody watching. It means a lot to us. Without further ado, my buddy George. Mr. Walker.
Hello. I am amazing. How are you, man?
You're amazing. I've never heard you in a bad mood. Do you experience bad moods?
I experience bad moods for sure. But that's funny, man.
I have to tell everybody, I don't trust you. You're always too happy. It's scary and too positive. No, you're the best to have around. Man. And, you and I just got done shooting Sparklers, which is coming very soon.
I am so excited. Oh, my God. This is about to be amazing. I can't wait for everybody to see all of the amazing food, the bubbles that were popped,
the drama,
the rivalries, the drama.
All right. So obviously you sort of exploded onto the scene here. I feel like I'm trying to figure out when. I feel like you've been a part of my life forever, and that's not true. You and I are both from a similar part of the country. We're both from,
Midwest.
Yeah. Would you consider Michigan the Midwest?
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm next door in Ohio where we have a better college football team.
I don't know about all that.
No, so I want to talk about kind of a little bit of your story. Obviously you and I, we've talked a lot about it, overeating a ton of crab and other things like that, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast. So it's an honor to have you here.
Wow. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I'm so excited to be here and be talking with you, to be in this realm. It's wild. It's kind of surreal, honestly.
It's nice to catch you while you're still humble. It's great. So now you work for Dwyane Wade Cellars. We're going to get to that whole thing, what it's like to work for somebody like that, what it's like to be in Napa, how the dream has changed as you got in the trenches and you're actually doing it. But first, I want to go back to Michigan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how the hell you ended up in wine.
Wow. Yeah.
Your culinary background, right?
Yeah, totally. So I started in food. And honestly, I didn't get to Michigan until undergrad, until I was 18. Prior to that, I was in, Northwest Indiana / Chicagoland. And, I decided that I wanted to go to culinary school and major in food and beverage management because, prior to that, I was trash at school, honestly. I was trash in high school and my parents wanted me to focus on vocational aspect of learning rather than, the liberal arts aspect of learning. So, I went to Tech Center, majored in culinary and, ended up working at a fine dining restaurant, flipping steaks and swordfish at 16 and realized that I did want to stay within the industry, but I didn't necessarily want to be cooking in the kitchen for, the rest of my life. So my passion for beverages started when I was, a freshman in undergrad.
This is in college, you're saying?
Yeah. So this was in Culinary Institute of Michigan. Yeah.
I think I want to take it back for a sec because what you're saying here, you say you're trash in school. Now, this pod is not about me, it's about you, but I had some very serious struggles in high school and in college as well until I found, really, really, really decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. I want to know what you mean you were trash in school. What does that mean?
Yeah, totally. I felt as though before I found my passion, I wasn't able to focus and I wasn't able to kind of gather and, have that spark until I, found food and until I've actually found what I truly loved in life. And that was...
You just got shitty grades kind of thing? I mean...
Oh, yeah. It was, shitty grades, not doing my homework, things like that.
Torturing your mother?
Exactly, man. Torturing my mom. My pops is a pastor and my mom is a teacher. So, they weren't having that at all. They were really adamant about, me getting a solid education and really adamant about finding what my passion was so that I could, be successful in life.
It's funny. I think there was a point when I was younger, my mother would have taken anything if I could have just focused on any one thing and gotten a job and been. I think if you feel like I wish I could go back and put my mom through less shit than I put my mom through, I'm sure you feel the same.
For sure. It's so interesting because, the American education system, they don't necessarily cater to everyone just because there's so many different ways of learning. And it's hard to be able to, well, it's not hard to be able to find each individual person's interest and really kind of lean into that and not just shun them aside because they learn differently than someone else. I just so happen to be be a person who learned differently than a lot of other people. So they saw that as a problem and didn't really give me as much attention that, I probably needed it at that time until, I took the initiative for myself to really be able to lean into my love and my passion.
Well, you work in wine now, but what was it about food? I mean, people think of vocation. I think the first thing comes to their mind is, I don't know, maybe something in a different industry. I don't know if food.
Like the trades.
Yeah, some kind of trade. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that will always exist. I firmly believe, heating and cooling, that's always going to be around, but cooking is going nowhere. And we'll get to wine here, but what was it about the culinary experience and food that made you finally turn your attention to something and turn around?
So my parents handed me this pamphlet and were like, yo, you're going to Tech Center. And they told me to choose something. And I ended up choosing culinary because I thought I was going to eat the entire time, to be very frank. I thought I was going to miss the half the day of school and just be able to eat, cinnamon buns and whatever the heck I thought we were going to be making.
Well, hopefully you did some eating, but okay, so keep going.
I did. I remember my first day, they said that it was not going to be that. I thought it was just going to be a, glorified home ec. And this was where I learned, my foundation of, classic French cuisine, learning how to make a mirepoix, what's in a mirepoix, learning, all of these different cuts, tournaying and small dice, learning, the 5 mother sauces and all these stocks and really being able to kind of dive in, different cuisines of the world. And I was able to kind of fall in love with food because I was able to kind of understand a place that I had not yet visited. Through food, I was able to kind of, at that time, be able to connect with a culture that, I had dreamed of going to or being a part of in some way. It really was like this connecting piece that I kind of fell in love with. And also just being able to, eat really, really good food.
That's amazing. So when you entered this trade school, it sounds to me it was almost like legitimate culinary school.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was a 2-year program and kind of gave you that intro to culinary. So by the time I got to culinary school, I felt as though I didn't really need to get a culinary degree because not only was I a part of this tech center, but I was actually working in the industry. I was on a grill line. I was in the trenches, as you would say, on the line, cooking. And once I got to culinary school, I kind of wanted to conquer something else that challenged me in a different way. And food and beverage was it. It wasn't until I got to culinary school that, I would stage at a bunch of different places because I still felt as though I wanted to learn and prove not only to myself, but to also other people who were culinary students because, they kind of looked at food and beverage majors as less than.
Really?
Oh, for sure. So I would, go and stage at, the best restaurant that I could at the time, which was in Me and Grace in this, farm to table kitchen, making everything from scratch, where I learned how to make sausage, where I learned how to make mustard, where I learned how to, make all of these different things while being a food and beverage major and not paying for the classes that, the culinary students were paying for, but still getting that same education and background.
What was your favorite thing that you did there? What did you cook that you still remember to this moment? I met you as a wine professional, worked with you on Sparklers because you're a chef. And, I just have to say, I know Sparklers is not out. I know we've been talking about it a lot. Right. I think some of the things you come up with zero ability to know what we were going to make, what the challenge was, is some of the most inventive stuff I've seen since I started my career. So my hat's off to you. I mean it. You have to have something that sticks with you from this time period.
Well, first off, I will not say I'm a chef. I am definitely not a chef. I am a glorified cook at best. But, one of my favorite things that I love to cook was pasta. And learning how to make pasta and really, honing it in and really getting the dough right every time and making sure that, I got the roll right every time because it's so easy to fuck up, but it's so simple at the same time. 3-4 ingredients at max to make a really solid pasta. And it makes a world of difference for whatever you're making. Whether that be, cavatelli or orecchiette or whatever,
So you're telling me people were thinking of like food and beverage as a lower, you say less than.
Oh, for sure.
Even with things like chef's tables on television and like Top Chef and all these things, even with that kind of thing, people weren't thinking about it as a real thing.
At our culinary school, you had the culinary students, there's probably like 80% culinary, 20% food and beverage majors. And all the food and beverage students, came in wearing suit and ties every day. And that's what we had to wear to class. You have all the, culinary majors and baking and pastry majors who, were going in chef's coats. So, they thought we were, stuck up and snobby and we didn't know anything about back of the house and classic, front of the house, back of the house tension that there is,
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you make the jump? I know that you hosted a television show out there as well.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that too, because I think you've done 3 things in your story that I'm aware of that would have taken most people would have been, their end goal. Wow. And you keep building on all these different things. So you went to culinary school, that creates this spark. You fix yourself as far as a student goes. Yeah. How did you end up with this show you're hosting? Tell us about that.
It was even before the show that, I ended up creating this class called The History of Food and Regional Culture. And I took this class called The History of Eating and Drinking. And in that class, we read this book called The United States of Arugula. This book basically went over, all of the culinary greats within America. People like Julia Childs and people like Alice Waters and Chez Panisse and all these different pioneers of this good food movement that happened within America. That kind of sparked my interest within understanding what food can truly mean. And that's really where I kind of honed it in. And, I ended up creating this class called The History of Food and Regional Culture, where, I taught kids how to cook food, really kids in the hood who looked like me, how to cook foods from all over the world. The first part was where we, went over a particular region in the world. And the second part is we actually cooked the food from that area, learning like the techniques. And the second part is where we ate the food, but also listened to the music from that particular area. So it could really kind of transport these kids the same way that food transported me at the time. So I really kind of wanted to pique their mind in that way. Further down the line, I ended up getting into distribution as far as wine goes, but particularly about the TV show, Cultural Ingredients, how that came about was I wanted to be able to kind of take that same ideology that I had and that same aspect that I looked at for food, but put it into a show for PBS where, I highlighted first, second, and third generation immigrant owned and operated restaurants, and where we focused on one key ingredient that they felt as though represented their culture to a T. And then we followed the origin of that particular ingredient, and then we cooked with it, and we took that same origin story and kind of applied it to that person and kind of traced it back to how that person got to West Michigan and how they kind of built their restaurant in that particular place. Both were amazing, amazing experiences that I got to have while in Michigan.
So then wine hits you. I mean, that upended your whole life. So how did you move from food to wine? And if food wasn't the thing, how did you get the guts to think that wine was actually a career?
Right. Honestly, it was my freshman year in undergrad, and I ended up volunteering for this tasting event and ended up pouring a Chateauneuf du Pape. And at the time, I was like, a Chateauneuf du what? Like, what'd you just call me, man? Like, hold up, wait a second. And, he ended up explaining, what Chateauneuf du Pape was and, where it came from and the whole rundown. And, I kind of fell in love with the story. And because I was in a culinary school, I was able to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. And around that same time that all of this was happening, the first SOMM movie came out. So I watched it, and then I saw Dwyane, and I saw a brother that looked like me who was doing it. And I was like, damn, like, I want to be like bro. Like, bro is out here like killing the game, which is crazy now looking back at it. Well, one, because I'm on this podcast, but also,
you're about to say you're better looking than Dwyane. That's what you're going to say.
Man, that's funny, man. But no, that's my homie. Like, that's like one of my mentors. Like, I could call up Dwyane right now and like we actually kick it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my guy.
Dwyane is one of the most generous human beings I've ever met.
So generous, man. The with best. His knowledge, with the bottles that he shares, with his time, he's such a genuine dude. So I ended up, doing that and, ended up working at this restaurant in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And, it was a pre-free menu. The menu changed every day, 4 or 5 courses, all that kind of jazz. And my general manager at the time saw my passion and, encouraged me to take my first level SOMM exam. But I wasn't 21 at the time. As soon as I turned 21, I ended up taking my first level, passed it. Shortly thereafter, ended up leaving the restaurant and going into distribution, where I represented people like, Jenny and Francois, Jose Pastor, Brooks out in Oregon. Just a mad dope portfolio.
These are great names. I mean, these are great names.
Man, I wish I would have known that at the time.
Yeah, no kidding. I wish you had a closet full of Jose Pastor from that time.
Man, yo, seriously, man, for real. It was from there that, I really started to really kind of grind my teeth and really start to learn a deeper meaning and aspect of wine, just because, I had a lot more access to it, honestly. I was popping bottles, showing around the state while still in school, being able to taste, some dope juice. And, that really kind of fostered this sense of like yearning for knowledge and growth that kind of happened within that span. From there, I was able to kind of see the lack of diversity within wine and really wanted to kind of, bring light to my culture within the space. So I ended up, creating my own pop-up dinner series where, I intersected live music, live art, food, and then of course wine all into a 5-course dinner. It was very successful and lucrative, and it was then that, I decided that I wanted to leave distribution and ended up getting into retail. So I ended up being a buyer for a higher end grocery retail chain, kind of similar to Whole Foods within Michigan, where I was buying wine for, 3 different stores and just kind of grew from there.
The story that you told me about how you ended up in Napa and how you ended up at Dwyane Wade Cellars, it's just brass balls. I just love it. You got to tell the story. You make a decision. You want to come out to work harvest, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, exactly. You take it from there for me. I love this because every time I hear the end of this, it pumps me up. I want to stand up and I want to go do something. It's amazing. All right.
Yeah, man. So I was working in retail and, I had my pop-up dinner series and, I wanted to take my business to the next level and I wanted to start producing my own project. And in order to do that, I had to learn how to make wine. So at the time, I didn't really know what a harvest intern was. I didn't even know it was a thing up until, one of my homies who lives out in California kind of filled me in. And I thought that a harvest intern were just, picking grapes in the field, which I was totally fine with. So I ended up shooting this random message to info@Wade Cellars. I was like, hey, my name's George Walker. I'm 26. I don't know if you guys are looking for any harvest interns this year, but I'd love to work this upcoming season. Didn't get to hear back until, 2 weeks later. And I get a message from Matt Nauman, the president, my now boss. And he's like, hey, sorry, I'm just not getting back to you. I've been on vacation for the past 2 weeks. How about you shoot over your resume and let's hop on a call tomorrow? I'm freaking out because I didn't know that I was going to get a message back at all. So the fact that he's asking me to shoot over my resume and hop on a call, I'm just like, yo, I made it. This is crazy. What the fuck? So, I ended up hopping on the call and he's like, tell me your story. I spew my story as quickly as I can because I know he's mad busy. And by the end of it, he's like, okay, so here's a lowdown. I'm actually not looking for a harvest intern at all. I'm looking for a right-hand man for the whole operation. How soon can you get out here? Mic drop. I'm just yo, what? This is absolutely insane. So, I dropped everything and ended up moving out to Napa 2 weeks later.
I'm trying to think of a scenario I've ever heard where somebody it's like you hit 23 red on the roulette table perfectly.
For real, man. It's absolutely
amazing.
Insane. It's still surreal, honestly, because I'm literally in a week, not even a week, literally in 4 days will be a year since I've moved out to Napa and had my first day here. And the first day at the office, which was kind of crazy and surreal all in all, just because, my second day in the office was the day that the entire Bay Area turned this apocalyptic orange from the glass fires from last year. And then also the pandemic and the elections and the world was just in a very different space. So to pick up my entire life and put my faith in what I knew was the right opportunity and the best opportunity that I could have ever had was surreal and still is.
It's so great. I'd like you to talk about what you thought it was going to be. I mean, you're about to work harvest from a very different angle than what you expected now.
Right.
It's amazing. I'd like you to talk about what you thought it was going to be like working in Napa, working in the wine business, and what it really is like.
Right.
For better or worse. It doesn't have to be bad, good, whatever. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I just knew that it was going to be amazing. And I knew it was going to be a wild, wild ride. This is literally the mecca for wine within America, within North America, let alone the world, or one of the meccas. So I knew that this was going to be an incredible learning opportunity, but I didn't know how big of a learning opportunity that this was going to be. The bottles that I've been able to take part in, people that I've been able to meet, the groups that have come from this. I thought that Napa wasn't a diverse place at all. And it really isn't. But, there is this community that's being built here that is absolutely incredible. A group of people who are gay, a group of people who are Black, a group of people who are queer, a group of people who are women, a group of people who are whatever, the whole gamut, who are passionate about wine and are looking to change the wine industry for the better and being a part of something that we all know and love, which is juice, which is grape juice. And it's amazing to see and it's also amazing to be a part of. I'm constantly inspired and humbled by, my peers who are creating and doing such amazing work here.
Tell me a little bit about what it feels like to not see representation. I know that you speak about Dwyane. I have to say, when you go and make SOMM, when I made that 10 years ago, I have to admit, I wasn't thinking about representation. I was friends with Dwyane. I liked him. I thought of him as an incredible character and person. I knew he'd be great in the film. And I think I've heard what you said so many times now that I wonder if I could have thought about it from a different angle. Would I have done anything different? Or I don't know. I mean, I wonder. I want to talk about that for a minute. It's a lot of pressure too. I know Dwyane had to deal with this as like...
It's weird to answer because it's like, it's something that, you know, I've had to deal with my entire life. So it's something that you unfortunately become accustomed to within, you know, your life. And to not be able to see representation is something that affects you greatly, because if you can't see yourself doing it, or if you don't see yourself doing it, and when I say yourself, I mean other people that look like you, most times you don't think that you can. You don't think that that space is necessarily for you. So you don't wander within that space. It's extremely hard to be a pioneer such as Dwyane, such as, you know, the Julia Coneys, such as, you know, Dottie, so many different people who have kind of breaking down the doors for people like me to be able to exist and kind of help bring up more people who are coming behind me. So it's fucked up. Don't get me wrong, but it's also inspiring. And that's what kind of invigorates me, is because of exactly that. You know, I want to be able to help as many people who look like me, or as many people who aren't male and white, to be able to see themselves within the industry and know that they have a place here and that they can be successful and they can create and produce.
Yeah, it's a tough, very, very tough thing. And I think that people need to understand what it is like to have to be looked at as, you know, no one will truly understand.
Right.
I will never understand, but I think more listening has to happen.
Right.
Because instead, you can work for 50 years, but if you still feel like your identity is that you're a Black person in wine rather than just a winemaker it is just tough to have that as a thing. And now,
there's so many different organizations who are doing the work right now, one of which who is really, really in the trenches and really grinding is, you know, the Roots Fund, who are creating opportunities for, you know, people of color within the wine industry, who are really like putting their money where their mouth is, like literally being able to produce opportunities for people to come out to harvest. My two best friends within the industry, you know, Darren, who is from North Carolina, but Darren and also Darwin, both of them who were from two different places, but through the Roots Fund, they were able to come out to California, work a harvest, and decided that they wanted to stay. And they came at the exact same time that, you know, I was able to come to Napa, and we just kind of created this cohort. And, you know, now Darren's literally flying to France tomorrow to work a harvest at Dujac, where I'll be meeting right?
Oh, man. That's a great place to start.
Man, it's a great place.
Jeremy's the best.
I'll be meeting him in 2 weeks, where I'll be doing a little harvest stint as well with my guy who I started out in Napa with for like 2 weeks. And yeah, Jeremy is amazing. Like, Jeremy is that guy. He's also one of those people who put their money where their mouth is, along with the creators of the Roots Fund, you know, Carlton McCoy, Akimi, and Tahira. All three of them are, you know, pioneers within this industry who are really doing the work to be able to create access for people of color.
You know, for people who are not maybe so close to the wine industry, it's gone through some pretty, not enough, not even close to enough, but some startings of change are happening. And I just want to say, the wine world is so much more fucking fun than it was just like 8 months ago. And I'm telling you, we're at like a 0.00001% of the change that needs to happen. That's where we're at right now. And it's gotten so much more interesting and so much more. I mean, it's just a better, we got a long way to go. And I can't even presuppose to speak like I understand.
No worries. But that's exactly why, you know, Dwyane ended up starting this project, was exactly that. He wanted wine to become more accessible to people of color, to Black people in particular, but to people of color in general. You know, he wanted to be able to use his platform to be able to show that, you know, a Black man can not only drink wine, but also be a part of the wine industry. He's had a passion for wine for, you know, some years now. And when he started this project, it was greatly important to him to be able to show that wine can be accessible, that wine can be a connecting factor and a bridge for so many different things.
I think wine's place in the world, and I've always said this, is to sit between people. It sits in between you, and it is this very strange thing that it's very hard to have 100% argument when you have a bottle of wine in between you. You might be able to fight, but it's not 100%. It's just because you have that break of putting something up to your mouth and your brain deviates. It's not a straightforward fight.
Exactly.
And then if you're in love with the person and that wine's in between you, it's only brings you closer. So it's like, I don't see why that can't extend to all different topics, you know, when it comes to wine. I mean, Dwyane Wade Cellars has proven, you know, the good thing is the wine is good. Very good. And that's the good thing, because it's not just like, you don't have to have that stuff, which is really important. But you don't have to have it. The wine's still great.
Right. I'm glad that you like it, man. Honestly, it's so much love that's put into the juice that's in the bottle, honestly, whether that be, you know, our Chenin Blanc, which is, you know, one of my favorites. Great. Yeah. It's so lean, man. Great. You know, high acid, tons of like crisp green apple on the palate, lemon peel, but it still has like this richness, you know? I would say it's one of my favorites that we have for sure. And the cab is just, oat rolling style. It's not your overly ripe, super jammy Napa cab. It shows restraint. It has minerality. It has this finesse that we wanted to really kind of show.
Where's the fruit come from?
So right now for the Napa cab, it's Oakville, St. Helena, and Rutherford mostly. So really like the heart of Napa.
Really inexpensive fruit.
Yeah. He said really inexpensive.
Right. No, I'm joking. Yeah. That's like the epicenter of the most expensive grapes that you can get.
Right.
That's good. So what is it like working with him? Man, I have to ask because Dwyane Wade's got he's a big personality.
Dwyane is cool as hell, man. Like straight up. He's so genuine. He's so chill. Like he's so compassionate, and passionate, man. Like he's genuinely an amazing, amazing guy. Whether we're chopping it up about, the bottles that we're drinking or we're just chopping it up about, what the hell ever. He's just honestly a really, really, really good dude. But the team that's here, it's small, but it's mighty, man. The level of expectations and the quality of work that's expected is absolutely pristine. And it's amazing to be a part of and to be able to create with so many different people, whether that be, Matt Nauman or whether that be, John Keys, who's our winemaker, or whether that be, Jamie Watson, whoever within the team. It's just this level of execution that we all strive for is, nothing but the best. And I love it. It's amazing, man.
Have you guys found it hard to compete with all the other brands? I mean, has having a celebrity name helped you guys kind of, the wine has to be good. So it just sort of lets you in the door with a name.
Right. Yeah.
Has it been hard to compete or has it taken off? How's it going?
The biggest struggle that I've found is that it is a celebrity-owned label. And, there's this whole notion of what celebrity wine is. And we're not that,
Yeah.
We actually care about the fruit that's going in the bottle. And we actually care about how things are being processed. I would say that's the biggest challenge.
What do you mean? Because people, they have a preconceived thing or?
Yeah. They think that it's just a celebrity slapping their name on the label. And it's not that. Dwyane plays an active role within, every process that's here at Wade Cellars. He's actually coming out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks to actually kind of be a part of what we have going on here. And he plays this role that, I don't know any other celebrity-owned wine brands, but, I know what he does and I know his passion for it. And I know that he's adamantly studying and adamantly going to wine regions. Right now he's in France, about to be in Burgundy with Jeremy at Dujac,
Amazing.
Really going to these places and really seeing the soil and touching the grapes and talking with the people, trying to learn more and educate himself, and he'll tell you firsthand that, he doesn't know it all. And he's not going to pretend like he does, but he wants to learn and he does learn and he is learning. I think that's the biggest difference with anyone, right? Anybody with money can buy a wine label and slap their name on it and just not give a fuck. Or, they can actually play an active role within it. They can actually, do the research and do the work and grind, which is what I've seen here at Wade Cellars because we're passionate, man. We love the juice. We love the vine, man.
That's great. I think that's important to note. It really is because there are a lot of, I won't name names, but there are a lot of people who have beans and have some, positive notoriety that do just that. It's take a look at this wine label, take a look at this, and I move on. And I'm not here to say anything's wrong with that because obviously if the wine is good, it can stand up.
Right.
Sometimes you get that and you get a wine that's like,
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not the scenario. If you ever talk basketball with him, I'd be...
I have once.
How'd that go?
I said some stupid shit the first time I met him, man.
I bet. I love this.
I said some shit like, don't get me on the court because I try to dunk on you or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck did I just say, dog? Like, what am I, like, what? Like, that's not possible in any lifetime.
You guys can't see us, but George is 3'9". It's not going to happen.
It's not gonna happen, man. It's not gonna happen. In my dreams.
Man, it is a pleasure to have you on. I really mean it. It's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this.
At some point, I just hope you hire me. So we'll just keep it. You can see George and Sparklers coming up late fall on SOMM TV, and I promise you, no matter what he says about him not being a chef, you are going to disagree with that statement. All right, buddy. We have lots more to talk about. Can't wait to have you on again.
Yes, thank you so much, Jason. This was awesome.
All right, go get yourself a drink.
Yes, sir. Already got one.
Okay, good man. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I am so excited for Sparklers to come out. We're getting there. Late fall. It's coming. Please go to SOMMTV.com and sign up. You can get an entire year for 50% off using the code word SPICES. There's really no excuse anymore not to be a SOMM TV subscriber. This episode was produced by Nadine Netman and mixed by Alex McCourt. We really appreciate you guys. You can find me on Twitter @JasonBWise. Leave us a review. That always means a lot to us. All All right, everybody, be safe. Talk to you soon.